Yeah.
I had to go and like redo my beard because after wearing a mask all day, it's got like
Nice.
a jump in it.
Nice.
So I ordered beard masks from the Bearded Struggle.
Oh, cool.
And they're just like straight.
I'm leaving all this in.
Oh, good. This will be our intro.
This is going to be the cold intro.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Whiskey Geeks. My name is Tim.
And I'm Alex, and we are two brothers on a quest to bring you the perfect pairing of whiskey and comics. Buddy.
Yes, we are. This is a fun one.
I was going to say, damn, obviously we're brothers. That's exactly what I was going to say.
We're doing a combo neck pour session / short box, but together. This is the first time we've been able to do a neck pour session review together.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's because we're doing reviews of brand new whiskeys that we get. It's very rare that we both have the opportunity to buy something brand new at the same time, or at least hold off from drinking it until we do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah. Normally, if we're going to go out and get a bottle, we're, like trading off so that we can send samples back and forth. But
yeah, it gets expensive for both buying everything.
Yeah, we're buying two of everything.
But this one came via the LCBO's online exclusive release over the summer. We've actually had these for a while, and we've just been saving them. But tell them what we drinking, son.
Well, we are drinking the Bunnahabhain, and I've got the foil that I just peeled off the bottle. And Stiùireadair?
I think it's Stiùireadair.
I thought it was Stiùireadair, but I looked at the label and the R is significantly further into the word than I thought it was. So if I'm willing to say Stiùireadair for this and just not care what people say.
I'm on the Bunnahabhain website and they have a pronounced Stiùireadair.
Stiùireadair.
Yes, which is Gaelic for helmsman.
Which obviously, if you are fans of Bunnahabhain, they've got the helmsman bright and
do you think we are?
Yes, I was going to say you've got a few there. I was going to say where are mine behind? Well, I mean, I've got two of them here on the table, but then I've got one there, and especially I can't point when it's behind me. Gosh, this is weird, just terrible for anyone listening on the podcast.
Yeah, for people just listening, I pulled out for the video portion. I've got all of the Bunnahabhains that I own. So I've got the Stiùireadair 12-year-old, an 18-year-old, and then I was able to pick up last summer the limited release, which was a cask strength French brandy cask finish, which is a very, very nice bottle, I must say.
Yeah. And so I round out, I've got the same first two, then I've got the Stiùireadair, and then I've got my amazing 40th birthday present. I've got the 25.
Flex.
So we're a little bit of a flex.
We're big Bunna fans at the Whiskey Geeks. But what we thought we would do is we would do a neck pour session with the Stiùireadair, but then we're also going to do a little compare and contrast with the 12, because I've seen a lot of people say that the Stiùireadair is a budget Bunna 12, or it's their discount Bunna 12. It's, basically the same kind of recipe as the 12-year-old, including some 12-year-old whiskey that's in there, but it's kind of just like a cheaper version of the 12, but you still kind of get the same notes, but a little bit more coastal influence is what I've heard. Yeah,
I've got some thoughts.
I have some thoughts as well. So normally, sorry, I'm talking a lot at the start here. Normally what we do is, you'll see us crack it and then, we'll maybe sometimes let it sit, or the last video was Alex up at our cave with that two brewers and you just cracked it and went right away. But I kind of wanted to do it similar to how we would normally do it, but together. So we both have already cracked this and poured it and tried it and wrote down a couple of notes, because I didn't want us to be influenced by each other with, what are you tasting? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I taste apricot jelly too.
Yeah.
There's no apricot jelly in this. I'm just pulled something out of my butt.
Bicycle in a tube.
Yeah, we've already tried it. So, all right, Alex.
Yeah.
Let's just dive into this.
I was going to say, let's get going. When I first nosed this, I mean, obviously I knew I had poured a Bunna,
Mm.
but it doesn't smell at all like a Buna. Like
Yeah.
I'm not getting any of the sherry cask influence on the nose.
I get
At
it.
least not before I tried it. When I went
Fair.
back after I had it on, like sitting on my tongue and I had a bit of a sip, I could go back and there was a bit of like, for me, it was almost like um, like, if you're like baking and you're making like a dessert and you put the brown sugar into the pan and you sort of just let it heat up and caramelize, I could get like a bit,
Delicious.
yeah, I could get like a hint of that. But for me, it was all brine. Like it's just
See?
salty, briny, and it
Okay.
reminded me more of an Ardbeg than it did of a Bunnahabhain.
Fair enough. I got the same thing. I nosed it. My wife was in the room and she was like, "What do you get?" And I was like, "Just brine."
Yeah.
She was like, "You always say that." And it's like, "Is that like just a whiskey thing? Is this just briny to you?" And I'm like, "I think it's because the stuff that I really like is coastal whiskeys for the most part, you know." And recently I've been drinking a lot of Islay or Campbelltown, specifically Glen Scotia, which does sometimes have a lot of that kind of sea salty brininess too. But that was the first note that I got on this. It's like, it's not like brine, like pickle juice, but to me, there was like a slight sour note
Yeah.
on the nose, but it's more, I want to say it's sea spray or sea air
Yeah.
saltiness, but there is a bit of a funk in it, which led me more Campbelltowny, which I was kind of like, there's a bit of weird
Yeah.
funk on the
There is,
nose on
there's,
this.
I mean, again, obviously we're brothers because you took the words out of it, but it's funky.
Yeah.
It's briny. I mean, there is a bit of the like the sea salt in there on the palate that you get, which is why I've got some thoughts when people were saying this is a budget Buna 12, because
Yeah.
I really don't think that's the case. I
Well, I
do
mean,
think this is
I
something.
poured a Bunna 12. I haven't had any yet or haven't
No,
nosed it or
same
anything.
here.
It's probably been a month or two since I've had a Bunna 12. I'm very familiar with Bunna 12. It's a very, very delicious dram that I like a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I agree. When I went into this, I was like, people are calling this like comparable to the 12. That's strange because I'm not getting
No.
Bunna 12 notes on the nose on this. So yeah,
No.
I asked like, let's write down a couple notes. So the brininess, funkiness was the first thing.
Yeah.
When I went back in, I did get a little bit of like raisins
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of like cherries. So I think after spending some time on the nose, I could pull out some of that classic sherry cask
Yeah.
finish that you get, which is like the dark red fruits, raisins, that kind of like warm sweetness.
Yeah.
But it took some looking
Yeah.
for me to get there.
Yeah.
Um, Taste wise,
Now that you say the raisins, like going back and like, I mean, I'm sipping here while you're talking,
yeah,
like I can get a bit of that.
right.
Um, Sort of
Again,
like
which is why I wanted to do this separately because
yeah,
as soon as someone says something, like I'm sure if you came in and said, I get lemon zest on this, I bet you my brain would be like, yep, there's lemon zest in that.
yes, you do.
Brain's really weird. So yeah, that's why I wanted to kind of do that separately. But yeah, so I got a little bit of that. But yeah, taste wise, what was your first impression on your first sip? Because
S-
I got some thoughts.
Yeah. So it was spicier than I was expecting.
Oh, we are
Um,
related.
Now it does have a bit of that, like some of that briny saltiness comes through as well. But for me, that's more, it's like the underlayer of it. Like I'm getting cloves. Um, there's a bit of almost like honeyed cloves,
So
but
funny.
there's a bit of like that saltiness there
Like a
too.
baklava.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
When you say
And
honey cloves, I just think, ooh,
yeah,
baklava.
yeah. But then on the finish, the spice comes back again. So it's almost like spicy, like a weird spicy clove at the front
Yeah.
end, and then you get a bit of that underlying salty, like not really peat, just like a bit of a
No.
saltiness to it, like sea spray, and then like white pepper, chilies, like something a
Mm-hmm.
little spicy then on the back end.
Yeah.
So
So
that's where I'm landing.
I was pretty similar. pardon me, my first kind of taste, I was just kind of like, woof, this is a lot more harsh than I was anticipating. Um, Now I know it's, it's a non-age statement,
Yeah.
so they say there is some some 12 in there. Um, oh, actually, no, it doesn't say that. It says it's not losing the sherry influence everyone knows and loves from the famous 12-year-old. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a young,
Yeah.
it's definitely a young whiskey for sure. It's got that harsh young whiskey, like 5 to 7 year old
Yeah. It's hot.
whiskey kind of taste hot.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I got that like salty brininess. I also pulled out some like I was like, it's spice, but it's not warm nutmeg baking spice like you get from some Highlands. It's like
Yeah.
like the Glenfarclas 15,
Mm.
which I did in the neck pour session, which was just Christmas cake in a glass.
Oh, it's so good.
That's, or like the Glenmorangie Dewthawk, which is one of my favorites. That's like, nutmeg and cinnamon and that warm, I think cloves is a good spice to hit. It's like cloves, but there's like a bit of nuttiness to it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And then like for me, the finish is like warm and creamy, and it like it kind of, but it is weird because normally if I was to say a whiskey was like creamy, I'm going to get that immediately.
That's not something that normally develops into a creamy,
It's
smooth finish. It's normally
no,
that's what it is.
that's what it is. The one that always hits that for me is Tom and Tool.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple of Tom and Tools that I've had that I've just like I don't know why, but for me it was like it's like heavy cream. It's
Yeah.
just like this like full, rich,
It's like
velvety kind of
it's like a Werther's
mouthfeel.
original.
Yeah, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this like oddly develops into that, which is strange.
Hmm.
Um, Before we get into comparing it with the 12, um, initial thoughts. This was $70. So that's the one thing to keep in mind, that like we picked this up $70.
Yeah.
So price point wise, from an entry level to get a non-age statement from our favorite distillery,
Yeah.
$70 is great.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a good value. I would say it's maybe a little bit higher. Like if I was being completely honest, I would say this is maybe $10 over what I would consider sort of
mm,
an entry level, like everyday drinker. Like if I'm comparing this up against
right.
something like a Bowmore 12 or the Deanston Virgin Oak, which are
Or the
two of
Bowmore
my,
one
or
even,
the,
which
yeah,
is like
well, they're non, yeah,
$58 or something.
yeah. So if I was to compare it with either of those two, I would say they're more like fully formed
Yeah.
product. Like there's more
I
going on. They're a
mean,
bit more complex.
yeah. I mean, I would say
Um,
those three that you named, I think those just, I mean, price per value. I
yeah,
don't think you can beat that. I think those are kind of the best,
yeah,
the absolute best in that price range that you're going to find.
yeah. So, but I
Yeah,
mean, but for Bunnahabhain, and with the 12-year-old being, is it 85, 90,
90. It's 90
90?
bucks.
So yeah, so I mean, it's a full $20 less. So comparatively, I think that's a good value when
Hmm.
you're going down. It's not, again, you know what? I've got to go into the 12 now
Yeah, let's
because
just do that.
I keep saying it's not what I remember of the 12, and calling it a budget Boona 12, I think is doing it like it's leading people down a road that I don't think is quite accurate.
Yeah, and that might have just been one person that I saw
Yeah.
who said that,
That
but
one
I
person. Yeah.
I feel like I saw a couple people reviewing the Stiùireadair who
Yeah.
like did this comparison. They're like, yeah, it's a cheap 12, or
Yeah.
it's a knockoff, kind of a knockoff 12, or yeah, their budget 12.
Yeah.
Like just immediately as soon as I smell the 12, it's as like the Stiùireadair is like harsh and briny and young. This is
Yeah.
like full and heavy and rich.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, sherry casks.
Yes. Yeah, you immediately get that sherry cask.
Now, like you said, if the Stiùireadair is somewhere in the range, again, it's not aged, so we don't know exactly, but if we think it's somewhere between five, like it probably is a blend of 5 to 10 year olds, like
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and who knows what the percentages are. But obviously, spending an extra anywhere from 7, 3 to 7 years
Yeah.
more in a sherry cask is going to do a lot to the whiskey in the barrel
Yeah.
there. So, but yeah, this is much sweeter. This is like what I'm used to getting out of Bunnahabhain, which are those like ripe red fruits, the like more of the traditional sherry influence. I mean, just right off the nose, like you said, like this is smooth, this is sweet. There's no
Sorry.
brine whatsoever,
No.
right?
No, and I just had a sip of it too, and it's like you said, that's the Bunnahabhain we know and love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bunna 18 is pound for pound, in my opinion, the best whiskey you can buy.
It's
Obviously, we've tried the 25. I've tried a Bunna 46. There's quote unquote better experiences with whiskey, but pound for pound, the Bunnahabhain 18 for me is my favorite bottle.
yeah, and like it's $200,
Yeah.
right?
And I
And
think that's the one that people like, if you could only drink one scotch for the rest of your life, what would it be? It's like, there's no hesitation for me. It's like, it's Bunna 18.
yeah, because if when you get into like the super either experimental or the really really old, there's just
Yeah.
something about really old whiskey. I mean, this is some serious champagne problems that we're complaining about,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're not always as complex as things that are a little bit
No.
younger, just because they spend so much time in the barrel, and you're getting the evaporation, you're getting a lot more interaction with the cask influence, just because it spends so much time in there, and you start to get that. I mean, we've said it before, but there's a lot more like woodiness. You get almost like a sawdust, a dryness that can come through in some of them, which, I mean, obviously don't happen with the 18-year-olds, which is why a lot more whiskey that hits the market is in that 12 to 18-year-old range, because
Yeah.
that's what people obviously that's what people like, that's what people buy. But there's a reason why that's what people like and that's what people buy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just went back to the Stiùireadair. Just like bright and young and harsh compared to the 12. So
Mhm.
I also think I think you made a good point with the like the price point and stuff of like $70 to get into a Bunnahabhain. Or I mean, if it's not bad. I'm not saying it's a bad whiskey by any
No,
means.
no.
I think it's more the fact of comparing it to all of the other Bunnas.
Yeah.
I would say spend the extra $20 and get a 12.
Yeah.
Um, or if you're looking for a budget, spend $20 less and go get a Bowmore number 1 or a Deanston Virgin Oak if you're looking for a. But I mean, like, those are different, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, you're getting
this
different
is
experience with all
it's
of
a different
those.
experience. Like the one thing I will say about this, if you like Campbelltowns, if you like a little funk and a little weirdness to your whiskey, then I think the Stiùireadair is great for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
Um,
if
I
I
don't think it's
wasn't
I don't think it's a super approachable whiskey that I'm going to pour for some of my friends who aren't Scotch fans. I don't think this would be my go-to of like, oh, you want a whiskey? Let me pour you this Stiùireadair here. What do you think? I
yeah.
think I'd get a lot of poison or this is gross.
Yeah.
Kind
No,
of
I think
things.
it's not overly approachable. And I mean,
No.
but again, if they're Campbelltown fans, then they're gonna like it, because it's got a
Yeah.
bit of that, like you said, a bit of that funk in there. But it's I think, you know what, I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was a blind taste and I didn't
Mm,
have the Bunnahabhain label on it. So I was like, because I went in expecting a certain something,
expecting a
because it
Bunna.
was, and it's a little bit off. And that's fine,
Fair.
because their Teutschenada is sort of the same way, right? Like, if you
Yeah.
go in expecting a sherry
Bunna.
bomb or a Bunna, it's not. It's their peated
Yeah.
expression. It's different. They're trying something different. And again, that's what they did here. They put out a non-age statement whiskey, which has elements
Mm-hmm.
of what goes into the Bunna 12. I mean, it's first, I think I saw something, it's first and second fill sherry casks,
Yeah, and
right?
it's like a mix of just different casks that they found in the warehouse and were stored in different because they've got different warehouses, some
Hmm.
right on the sea, some not right on the sea. So it's like a mix of them. So I think what they were going for was to let's get. I feel it's a let's get Bunna 12 and let's get more of the sea influence in the Bunna 12 as opposed to the sherry influence. Let's lean
Yeah.
more into the like we're on the coast of an island in Scotland.
Yeah.
We've got a warehouse that gets a lot of sea influence. Let's really lean into that. And I think for that they did hit the mark. I think you're right though. I think knowing what it was, I think doing this one in a blind taste, I think would be fun. Um,
Yeah. I think it would
yeah,
confuse some people too, right?
yeah. I'm excited to see how it develops though. You know, this
Oh
is
yeah,
just
this
the
is
first dram. I mean, I've had the Stiùireadair before. I know our dad has had a bottle in the past, and I know I had an ounce in a Bunna tasting we did with Mike Brisebois. It was the Stiùireadair was in a Bunna tasting, so I've had it before and I remember liking it. But yeah, what would you give this on a mark?
on
What
a
would you
mark.
mark this sucker?
I like right off the top of my head, I'm gonna like below an 8, like
Mm-hmm.
a you know 7.6. So
Yeah, I
like
go a bit
some
lower. Maybe like
yeah, yeah,
73, 74.
yeah, like somewhere in there. It's
Yeah.
a fine dram. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I don't want to feel like I'm complaining about drinking this because
No,
it's
exactly.
quite enjoyable and
Yeah.
um
I'm
you know
excited. I'm probably gonna. I mean, it's not highly accessible. Like I think there was. I can't remember how many bottles got released by the LCBO on this online
oh,
thing.
but
It
they
was
were
like
gone. Like
it
they were
was the
gone
day.
so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the one. It was the day. Like I fortunately found out the day before they were going on sale, or the day they went on sale. I
It's
caught
almost like
wind of it.
it's almost like we knew someone maybe who knew they were coming out.
Oh, that was a Mike thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
That was a Mike. I wasn't sure if it was Mike or if it was our other buddy who is on Whiskey Reddit every day and then will send me random stuff of like, hey, this is out. No, this was a Mike thing. Thanks, Mike, for the
Go follow the
for
Whiskey Explorer.
yeah. Go follow at the Whiskey Explorer. What a great follow. Thanks for posting about that. Yeah, because I think when it went up, I just ordered
We got
a
4
case.
for the group, right?
Yeah, I just got 4 for us, and it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be able to get rid of these.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think if it was more accessible, I would say like I'm gonna spend the next like month and just power through this bottle. I still might do that. I might go back to it over the next couple weeks and
Yeah.
just kind of keep going back and I think going into it with a different mindset of like now knowing what it is and like I'm gonna pour this. It's a Bunna. It's a kind of a weird Bunna. Let's see how it is. I think it'd be
Yeah.
quite enjoyable.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but if we're going in a versus battle with the 12,
I'll take the 12, thanks.
yeah, that $20 goes a long way. Um, cool. Well, that's part one of this little podcast.
Yeah.
Part two is we're going to do some comics. Now, normally for the um, short box, we just kind of review a comic. But I thought, hey, we're both here. Let's each pick a comic, something that you've read recently. Do you want to go
Yeah.
first, or do you want me to
Yeah.
go first?
I'll go first because
Cool.
I mean mine I think follows in the spirit of what we were doing here tonight with the like comparing and doing two whiskeys from the same distillery. So as I know I've mentioned before, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So
What
yeah, I know. I mean, favorite movie, growing up, first movie I ever saw in the
is
theater
it?
was
Is Attack of the Clones is his favorite movie?
Return of the Jedi was the first movie I ever saw in the theater. Like all the toys, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I'm currently in the middle of the largest comic book crossover. I mean, that's ever happened in the Star Wars universe. So it's the War
Mm.
of the Bounty Hunters.
See, I
So
haven't
is
read
the
any of these yet, so I'm happy that you picked this.
yeah. So it's been going on for I think it started in June, and there are so of the main titles, it includes the main Star Wars comic, the Darth Vader comic, the Dr. Aphra comic, there is a Bounty Hunters comic,
Mm-hmm.
and then they are tying in. They now have the War of the Bounty Hunters comic, so we're up to 5. That one is so the main story is this starts right when Boba Fett takes Han Solo in carbonite, and he's on his way to take him to Jabba. And we all know what
it.
happens at the end. He gets to Tatooine and delivers him to Jabba. But the very first issue, the carbonite starts to fail and Han starts to thaw out. So he has to stop somewhere to, some out of the way place with a, black market.
See, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
This is why comic books are so fucking great, because you get to do all this weird storytelling on the side of main stories that everybody knows. I love it when people are allowed to do this kind of stuff. It's just like, we'll get back to your story, but there was like that mini event Vader Down.
Oh yeah.
That was just like Darth Vader crash landed on a planet in the middle of like the movie saga of Star Wars. And it was this story about how the entire Rebel Alliance was like, hey, Vader's ship went down. Let's go get his ass. And
he tore through some.
He beats the absolute living piss out of thousands of them by himself. But like being able to tell these kind of stories that happen on the side of like a main story that everybody knows, like that's why comics are so good.
Yeah.
All you Scotch people watching this, go read comics. It's so fun. All right, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and then of course, Boba Fett gets double crossed. Han gets stolen. So now Boba Fett is then having to like get back on the trail to figure out where he is. Jabba the Hutt puts out a massive bounty on Boba Fett because he feels that he double crossed him.
He's double crossing the double cross. Oh.
Yeah. So now, and so this brings in, there's now like one shots with IG-88 and
I was gonna
Bosk,
ask, like,
and Dengar,
Dengar,
and they all come in. And then one of the really cool things, and then Dr. Aphra is, she's trying to she hears about this. So then she's trying to go and figure out where it is. Luke and Lando and Chewie and Leia all then hear through their network, the Rebel network of spies, that this has happened. So then they're now on the hunt trying to save them. And it brings all the characters together in this amazingly complex story. And there's got to be at least 5 books every month in this arc. And then there's all these little one shots that are jumping in.
Not gonna lie, I'm very excited for this to be put in a trade.
So whenever I get my pull list from my comic guy, Mike at Dark Age Comics up here in Ottawa, he got shout out. He delivers. So I have to go into the back of each book and be like, what's the order of this? Like, which one goes where?
Yeah, that's the one thing about these massive tie-in events that's a little frustrating, which is why I'm kind of like, I'm gonna wait until this gets collected in a trade, and then I'll just read it as one big story. But
I was already getting
super fun when you're in it though.
Yeah.
The War of the Realms was the one that I really got, which we will be doing we've got a plan to talk about War of the Realms with some pretty awesome whiskeys. Yeah. It's going to be one of our pairings. But I was in it because I was reading The Mighty Thor, and then the War of the Realms started, and I was like, oh my God, Russell Dowdeman's going to draw the Punisher and Wolverine and Daredevil with Heimdall's sword. War of the Realms is incredible.
Yeah.
And when you're in it, you're just like, oh my God, I got to get this one. And then, oh my God, I get that one. Like,
so I basically
it gets expensive and confusing, but it's super fun at the same time.
Yeah. I just told Mike, I was like, look, just everything in the War of the Bounty Hunters run, just like order and it's fine. And then like this past month, I was like, what's this one?
What amazing.
So the last thing I'll say, because I don't want to get into like spoilers, but so anyone who's seen the Han Solo movie, Kira,
I think.
Kira. So she shows up as the head of the Black Sun, and she's got him, and she is having a black market auction, and is like pulling in so it's like Crimson Dawn and all these other crime syndicates. And
does Darth Maul show up?
I don't know.
Oh God.
So
I'm rewatching Rebels right now.
I know, it's amazing.
Sorry, this is a tangent, I know, but I recently watched the episode, but the episode where you know what? If you haven't watched Rebels, enough time has passed. The episode when Ahsoka and Vader fight, but it starts with like them at the Sith temple and like Maul's in it with the Inquisitor. Like that 2 episodes is some of the best Star Wars storytelling I've ever seen. Holy shit, is it good?
Oh yeah, the best Star Wars storytelling is happening in the animated series.
No,
like
Rebels
between
is so good.
Yeah, between Clone Wars and Rebels and the Bad Batch.
That's why I'm rewatching Rebels so that I can watch Bad Batch.
Oh, it's awesome. So anyway, so that's my comic that I'm reading, and it's incredibly involved, but as a huge Star Wars nerd, it's awesome.
I'm so excited about that now.
Yeah.
Man, you should have gone second. Mine's cool, but mine's not that cool.
Well, it was like 2 Boonas crossing over, a lot of things.
I love it. I've heard so many good things about Dr. Aphra, and that's just there's just so many comics to read that's one of those that like I need to go back and grab some trades, or I'm probably going to sign up for Comixology.
Well, here's the problem. You can't in Canada. Unless they've changed it just recently, your Amazon Prime will not get you Comixology in Canada.
I think they changed it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But I don't know if the full
catalog,
like catalog's on there. Yeah. We've got some other comic news that I'll hit after I do my book, actually.
Yeah. So what is
interesting. So mine is, I was like scrolling through Instagram, and I follow a lot of comic book artists and like art dealers and stuff like that. And I don't even remember how I saw this book, but I saw a picture of, sorry, I was reaching down to grab the book.
I was going to say, he's off mic.
It was like this picture, which I'm going to hold up the camera so you can be able to see it, of this barbarian with an axe.
But that kind of looks alive.
Like a skull face with like a mouth and stuff on it. You know what? Go to our Instagram, and I'll post pictures of it for the people just listening. So anyway, I found out that this book is from a comic company called Vault Comics, and it's called Barbaric, and it's the issue number 1 that just came out a couple weeks ago. So I called my local comic shop, shouts to Heroes Comics in London, and asked, I was like, hey, do you carry this? I've never heard of Vault Comics. And they're like, yeah, we got some. So I had them put it aside, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm interested to see what this is, because that picture was really cool. And holy crap, is this a fun book. The creative team, real quick, give them shout outs. So it's Michael, and I think it's Morikai. It might be Morrissey, but I'm going to go with Morikai because that sounds more badass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan Gooden is the artist who does a fantastic job. He's actually the creative art director for Vault Comics. Addison Duke is the colorist, and Jim Campbell does letters. So the story is this barbarian whose name is Owen, which is also hilarious that it's just a barbarian named Owen. He has a typical barbarian lifestyle. I won't get into too many spoilers. I'll just give the general plot. He's a typical barbarian of, pillaging and stealing and killing stuff.
As you do.
Yeah. Gets caught up with some sea witches.
Sure.
And then they offer him a deal of either he can either die or like basically be their servant. And so the deal he strikes is he can go on living, but instead of being a barbarian, he's basically a noble barbarian. So they put a curse. So he's cursed. He has to do what his axe tells him to do, and his axe will only let him kill people that deserve it. So it's this story where the story, I'll just give you where the story opens. He's in a fighting pit. Like this guy owns him, and it's gladiatory games. And he's like, okay, now you're going to go kill these 3 guys. And then he has to talk to his axe to be like, can I kill these guys? And the axe is like, well, that one's a murderer. That one, is an adulterer, but that guy just stole some bread. So you can only kill those 2 because they deserve it. But that one, no, you can't kill that one. And so he's having these full conversations with his axe, but obviously no one else can hear his axe. And so everyone thinks he's crazy, but he's also the best fighter on the planet.
Yeah.
So
This is hitting me so hard in my Dungeons and Dragons
it's
soft spot.
yeah. So there's some like cool dungeons. It's total Dungeons and Dragons stuff for like barbarians and stuff like that. And there's another character later on that I told you off mic about it
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
That's like super Dungeons and Dragons cool, like a mechanic that I'm gonna build into a character for a future campaign for sure because it's fun.
Absolutely.
But it's funny. It's very graphic. The way that I explained it to you off mic too, I'm like, it's Conan the Barbarian meets Berserker, that Keanu Reeves book. It's, I mean, it's ultra violent. There's a lot of language in it, so it's definitely an adult book. Um, but one issue in, and I've already told heroes like, hey, this is now on my pull list.
Yeah.
So it's a monthly thing from Vault Comics, and I say go buy it if you like
Nice.
any of that stuff because it is a fun read.
Yeah, that's right up my alley. So I think I'll probably be adding that to mine as well.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I know you are gonna love it. Um, so the one little bit of comic news I'm just gonna tell you, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Have you heard about all these comic book writers going to Substack?
No.
So Scott Snyder,
Yeah.
James Tynan,
Yeah.
Nick Klein, and a couple of other are going to Substack. So James Tynan, for those of you who don't know, he's been writing Batman for a long time.
Yep.
And he does Nice House on the Lake, which we love. Something is Killing the Children is his as well. So he is no longer going to be writing Batman. He is not renewing his contract with DC, and he's just going to Substack. So what this means for Nice House on the Lake and something and all of his other stuff, we don't know. But it's this deal that Nick Klein came up with Substack where Substack is paying all of these guys to be staff writers.
Yeah.
And then Substack's going to take. So for those that don't know, Substack is like a subscription base that a lot of like journalists and bloggers are using. But they're going to start doing, they're launching a comics division. So it's going to be web comics and it's all creator owned. And Substack's just going to be taking a tiny percentage of their subscription, but they own everything.
Oh, wow.
They're keeping ownership. So it's kind of like back in the 90s when like Liefeld and McFarlane and Jim Lee and Will Sportasio and those guys, they all left Marvel and DC and created Image because they're like, we want to own our own stuff. You know, this is like even a new iteration of that where they're really going to own it.
Yeah. So it's going to be all digital.
That's the thing. Like, are they going to partner with a Boom Studios who are just going to get print rights?
Yeah.
And like, so is it going to be that it's a web comic, but if you want a printed version, Boom Studios or Image or someone like that, because they don't take ownership, like the creators still own it at those publishing houses. But it's really interesting.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, and especially what happens to those ongoing titles.
Yeah. Like who's going to take over Batman? And,
yeah. I was going to say like Batman, I'm not so worried about, you know, Batman will survive.
Someone will take over it. Yeah.
You know, and it'll be awesome. But
yeah,
like for his smaller one, like, you know, Something's Killing the Children and Nice House on the Lake. Like I'm now very invested in Nice House on the Lake. Like I've got lots of questions. It's gone the way of Lost where
I still haven't read it. I've got book one.
Yeah. First season Lost, good Lost, where you watch it and you're so intrigued and you leave with more questions than you started with. Like it's there. So I've read the first 3 and I'm no further along.
Awesome.
Like I'm still thoroughly enjoying it, but you know, it's like, what's going on? What? So,
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but this could be a whole new thing. Apparently the quote from the interview with James Tynan was his contract re-up with DC, sorry, like was, I think he said it was an amount that I thought never in my wildest dreams would I see a contract like this to write comic book stories, and then Substack beat that deal.
Jeez.
And I mean, like, so I think I was listening to Talking Comics. They were talking about it, and like they were saying that like, you know, the Batman, or I think his creator owned stuff, so like Something's Killing the Children and Nice House on the Lake, it's like averaging around 100,000 like buys.
Okay.
And it's like, imagine if he can just get 20% of those people to go to his Substack at $7 a month.
Yeah.
If you get 20,000 people paying you $7 a month, like regardless of what you're paying your artist and what Substack takes, like even if he's taking even if he gets $1,
yeah,
20 grand a month, that's $250,000 a year. Like, you know, like that's interesting.
Yeah.
So this could be
really
a game.
Interesting business model.
And then if a Netflix comes around and wants to option the stuff, then he gets to keep all that money, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't go back to.
It's it's not like exactly. So it's gonna be interesting, man.
Oh,
but
wow.
I might have to start investigating Substack as a possibility of not going Comixology, and maybe I go.
Yeah.
Or Marvel Unlimited or the DC stuff. Maybe we start going there if more and more creators go. But because I'm
follow the creators that we like as opposed to the the big houses necessarily.
Because Scott Snyder he's going to be doing a bunch of Comixology exclusives where like him and Capullo have a book coming out specifically for Comixology on their imprint.
Oh,
and so he's going to do, like he said, he just came out with a thing of like he's doing like 6 books for them. And then now he's also in the Substack thing. So I don't know. Snyder's making some moves too.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a lot of like industry nerd shit that I love that stuff.
Just dropped. Yeah.
I love that stuff. Cool. Well, hey, this is a very, very long neck pour session / short box / comic news / you and I haven't really chatted in a while, so it was fun to catch up again. We're going to have more podcasts coming, folks. I know we took a bit of a break, but it's summer and, it's nice outside and we're allowed to do things again. Sort of
ish for a minute until we're not again.
Yeah. But yeah, so keep coming back, folks. The whiskeygeeks.com. Whiskey has an E in it. Check us out on Instagram at the Whiskey Geeks. You can email us, thewhiskeygeeks@gmail.com. We might start answering questions. So if you have questions about stuff, email them in and we'll answer them on the show.
Yeah.
But hey, Bunnahabhain Stiùireadair, $70. Would you buy it? Real quick.
Yes.
Would you buy it? Are you going to buy another one? Yeah?
Yes.
I think I would too. Didn't blow my socks off, but totally worth $70. So
I think so.
There you go, folks. Hey, Alex, anything you'd like to say before we get out of here?
It was good getting online again with you and just chatting. It was like you said, we rambled on a little bit this one just because we haven't done this in a little bit because I was away and summertime got busy. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good.
Right on.
Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. And yeah, like I said, check back again on our Instagram and YouTube channels. If you can hit that subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate it. And for Tim, I'm Alex. We're the Whiskey Geeks. And remember, Scotch and stories, they belong together. Cheers, buddy.